Which is better, the Samsung Galaxy A51 5G or the Samsung Galaxy A71 5G? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, coming at you with my comparison between the Samsung Galaxy A51 5G and the Samsung Galaxy A71 5G. Now, both of these phones were recently launched in the US. They're being offered factory unlocked, and they're also available at a variety of different carriers. Now, if you're looking for the most up-to-date pricing for these two phones, take a look at the links in the video description, as I'm sure the prices will change as time goes on. Now, with the A51 5G, we're getting a 6.5-inch display compared to a slightly bigger 6.7-inch display with the A71 5G. Now, even though the A71 5G does have the bigger display of the two, you can see that when we do hold the phones side by side here, yes, this one's bigger, but really not by too much. Now, with the A51 5G, we're getting a Super AMOLED display, and with the A71 5G, we're getting a Super AMOLED Plus display. So a little bit more of a premium AMOLED display technology, but in my opinion, looking at the displays of both of these phones, they both look really good. You're getting excellent colors, great viewing angles as well, so they're going to be great for browsing the web, going on social media, or watching video content. Now, both displays are 1080p. With the A51 5G, we're getting a PPI of 405 compared to a PPI of 393 with the A71 5G. Now, both devices do feature 20:9 aspect ratios, so more of a tall but narrow form factor, like we've seen with many other devices that have launched this year. And with the A51 5G, we're getting an 87.2% screen-to-body ratio, compared to an 88.3% screen-to-body ratio with the A71 5G. Now, you can see with both devices, they do both have very small bezels all around, which is certainly very awesome. Now, up top here on both devices, we do have a hole punch for the front-facing camera, and the front-facing camera on both phones is 32 megapixels. Another thing that these two phones also have in common is that they both feature 128 gigabytes of internal storage, and they also both feature microSD card expansion. Now, I'm really happy to see that they're both getting 128 gigs. That's definitely quite a bit of internal storage, and definitely nowadays, with how large apps are, these certainly will give you an adequate amount of space. Now, neither of these two phones offer wireless charging, but they do both feature in-display fingerprint sensors. So we'll try out the A51 5G first, and you can see nice and quick there. And now the A71 5G. So there we go, nice and quick responsive fingerprint sensors on both phones. Also, both of these devices do feature face unlock via the camera, so if that is a feature that you do like, then you are going to be able to get it with both of these devices. Now, taking a look at the backside of both phones, we do have some similarities and differences when it comes to the cameras. Now, with the A51 5G, we have a 48 megapixel main camera compared to a 64 megapixel main camera with the A71 5G. But both phones feature a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle, a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera, and a 5 megapixel macro camera. So we're definitely getting a variety of different cameras here with both phones. And then we are getting portrait mode with both the rear and front cameras on both devices. This is how things look with the main cameras on both devices. We can then switch over to the ultra wide angle cameras, and we can fit a lot more content into the frame here. So certainly a very useful feature to have. Then going over to the More tab, we have a bunch of different options. So over here is where you're going to find the macro cameras on both phones. So with the macro cameras on both phones, you can get nice and close up to take sharp looking pictures. And then here's how live focus portrait mode looks on both phones. And then we can flip that over for the front camera as well on these devices. With both of these phones, we're getting the Exynos 980 processor and 6 gigabytes of RAM. Now, due to that processor, both phones, of course, do support 5G. And it's interesting that both of these devices do indeed have the same exact processor and same amount of RAM, because the regular A51 and the regular A71 do not have the same processor. So considering that the processors and the amount of RAM on both of these phones are the same, you should expect to get very similar performance on these. Now, despite those similar specifications, I did get decently different benchmark results. So with the A51 5G, I got a single core score of 489, compared to a single core score of 604 with the A71 5G. And then with the A51 5G, I got a multi-core score of 1816 compared to a multi-core score of 1875 with the A71 5G. Now the benchmark scores don't always mean everything, and from my usage of both of these phones so far, I would say that they're pretty close. So you're not really going to notice a big difference between these two. Now later on in the video, I will do a side-by-side speed test comparison, so hopefully that'll give you a better idea of the type of performance to expect. Now video recording with both of these phones maxes out at 4K at 30 FPS with both the front and rear cameras, which is definitely very interesting. Now both of these devices do feature beefy 4,500 mAh internal batteries, which is definitely very awesome as well. Now with the A71 5G, you are going to be able to recharge this phone at up to 25 watts, so you will be able to recharge it faster than the A71 5G. And then the software on these two devices is pretty much exactly the same. With both phones, we're getting Android 10 with Samsung's One UI 2.0. It's definitely a very smooth experience in my opinion, and I really don't have any complaints about it. Another thing too is that since these devices are the UW variants, we do get Samsung Pay on here, and we're also getting NFC. But now that we've gone over the major specifications of these two phones, let's now compare the hardware. So they both have a very similar appearance up front here. Now with the A71 5G, the bezels are a little bit smaller, but still, both phones do look really good, they both look modern, and in my opinion, they both have really good designs. Now, another interesting thing about both of these phones is that they do both feature metal bands running around the sides. We do have several of these seams, by the way, which you can see right here and here. But on the left side, there's nothing. On the right side, we have the power button and volume button. Then up top, we have the noise-canceling microphone and the slot for the SIM card and micro SD card. And then on the bottom, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, microphone, and speaker. And then on the back of the two phones, we pretty much have an identical design here with the camera module, and that's pretty much it. Now here are the boxes that both phones come in. Again, these are the UW factory unlocked variants of the phones, but you can see we do have 5G branding on the box. And then with both phones, we are getting SIM card removal tools, and then we're getting the wall adapters for both, and we're getting the USB-C cables for charging and data transfer. Now one of the differences though is that with the A71 5G, this wall adapter is super fast charging, and we do have a USB-C port on this side, whereas with the charger for the A51, it is adaptive fast charging, so it is going to be a bit slower. But both of these chargers will recharge the devices quickly. But let's now do a speed test comparison between these two phones. So we're going to start by pulling up the cameras. So 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like it was a little bit quicker here with the A51 5G. Let's now go to Google Chrome. 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like it was about equal on both devices. Let's now go to yahoo.com. 1, 2, 3, go. And a little bit quicker on the A71 5G. Let's now go to engadget.com. 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like a little bit quicker here with the A51 5G, but the A71 5G was also very fast as well. Now scrolling with both phones is nice and smooth, as you'd expect it to be for these upper mid-range devices. Let's now go to this page. 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like maybe a little bit quicker with the A51 5G, but again, the differences between these two phones is so little as far as the speeds go that I'd pretty much declare them a tie. So in conclusion, which of these two phones is the better choice? Now, with the A51 5G, it is going to be less expensive compared to the A71 5G. And really, besides having a slightly bigger display and slightly better cameras, I can't think of too many benefits with the A71 5G over the A51 5G. I guess another benefit with the A71 5G is that you can also recharge it a bit quicker. But both phones have the same processor, they both have the same amount of RAM, they both have a very similar design, so there's definitely a lot less differentiating factors between these two devices compared to their 4G LTE counterparts. Now also you need to factor in what deals are available at your favorite carrier, as for example, your carrier might be running some deals on the A71 5G, but not on the A51 5G. So if you can get this device cheaper than this device, then yeah, go ahead, go for the A71 5G. There's definitely nothing about this phone that makes it worse than the A51 5G. But again, there's not much about the A51 5G that makes it inferior to the A71 5G. So basically, there's so many similarities between these two devices, I'm not really even sure why Samsung has both of these available in the US and on a variety of different carriers, because you're going to have a very similar experience with both of them. So again, in conclusion, it really comes down to what types of promotions are being run for these various devices. But I would say that if you're going just off the MSRP, the A51 5G is the better deal of the two, not just because it is less expensive, but because it pretty much has everything that the A71 5G has, so you're going to be pretty much getting the same exact experience. But I hope this video helped you choose between these two devices, and I hope you found it to be interesting. But this is the Samsung Galaxy A51 5G versus the Samsung Galaxy A71 5G. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.